Namaskar and welcome to this exciting new episode of Sathology Debunking Mythology. We have you. I'm really happy all of you are liking our events, even though they're heavy in subject, but we try to make it as easy as possible for all of you. On popular demand, I'm going to present you a great speaker, researcher, and a great friend who is going to speak to you the third part of Kali and its relevance. So without delay, let us welcome Shri Rupa Bhati. Namaskar, Rupa ji.
Namaste Aditya ji, namaste.
Always a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much for calling me. Yes, indeed, our Indian scriptures are full of so much knowledge that we regret we didn't read them in schools. No, now we are finding it so interesting.
It's so unfortunate. The whole world reads it.
Hmm.
Indians have to read the foreign authors to learn about their own culture. It's the
Exactly,
biggest irony. And the
biggest
whole
time.
world quotes Indian authors, Vyasa, Narada. They get their authority from them. And Indians get their authority from some William, Shilliam, and all these people, Daniel, and all.
Exactly, exactly.
So the presentation is on. Anytime you want to share, you can do that. Uh,
Ji,
so
sure.
tell me one thing before we start off, because you have done two sessions in this series, and you have
Nataraj
presented.
and Kal and Nataraj and Kali. So
Yes,
today is Nataraj and Agastya. What is the
Agastya.
connection between these two?
So
Because Kutu constellation is all about southern constellation. So it has to do something with the Agastya. But what is there in the iconography which is hidden? So we'll try to understand what is hidden there.
just one question people have is that if they want to study yours, so they need to understand some basics, like
Exactly.
the way you have done. Is there anything you can share with them about some basics, or while showing the presentation also you can talk about it?
Yeah, and now also just two liner. One has to know about the precession of equinoxes,
Hmm.
the axial precession, the apsidal precession, which we talked about last time in Kali section, that how the apoapsis and periapsis works, and that is also much present in our in the form of Kali, Treta, Dwapar, and Krita. So that is nothing but the motional phenomena. That is the apsidal precession. So one should know precession of equinox, axial precession, pole star conditions in that axial precession, and the obliquity. So few of these things, if you know very well from the physics point of view or astrophysics point of view and the astronomy, uh, then you can very easily comprehend what I am saying or what Nilesh is saying or what other people are saying. So it's very easy to understand at least the different time phenomena like Kritika Adi, like Rudre Samvatsar, like Samvatsar Vaishunasira. So you Samvatsar and Uttara Falguni, not in Purva Falguni. So all these things are related to axial precession. So if you know axial precession, if you know precision of equinoxes, if you know apsidal precession, if you know obliquity of the earth, then you can very well fit all these myths, what we call myths. They're not exactly myths, but there is some reality in those myths which we are now not able to decipher. So
Reality
if
is
you
Sat,
know,
the unreality
yeah,
was myth.
myth. So it comes from like we now understand that it is coming from the word mithya, but mythical thing or something which is not understandable, something which is not comprehensible. So that thing becomes myth, like myth of creation, myth of something. So it becomes something like jumbled up questions, you know, something like Nasadiya Sukta, something like. Uh, mm, uh, I think many of the suktas which are present in Rig Veda, they also carry myths. So, what kind of myth which we are not able to comprehend? They have given us, but we are not able to comprehend. Like myth of drinking water of ocean by Agastya. So this becomes myth. Now we are not able to comprehend what it is trying to say. So these are things which can be decoded with the help of astronomy, because these are pertaining to the name Agastya. So once the Agastya comes into picture, or anything, Kalkanjas or Kalakeyas comes into picture, Ilvilasur comes into picture. So you have to understand this, that why these sudden myths are appearing in between of some kind of a conversation that is going on between the protagonist or the people or the rishis. So that is why what happens is Westerns say that these are all mythical characters which cannot be comprehended and understood. Why these are given in Rig Veda, completely out of mind thing. It's going all tangent. All these stuffs comes up with the conclusions. So if you read them, the Westerners, they write that they don't know why this came up. Indra Ahilya myth. These are all something related to astronomy, but we are not able to decode them because that has gone a kind of a breakage uh, in having those knowledge from our seers. Now that uh, parampara got broken, and that is why we are now don't have not only us, but also the Vedic people who are chanting Vedas and all. They have also lost that touch of all these stories what they were carrying. So almost 300, 400, or maybe 1000 year gap or 2000 years gap. It appears to me like 1500 years gap has happened between this transfer of knowledge to us. So after 500 AD, it appears like many of the things have been lost. So that is how I conclude. Like,
So let's get
and this,
started. I think thank you
yeah,
for your
sure.
answer. Let's get started.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, people who are asking me while Rupaji is preparing the slides, Paila Rishi was a disciple of Vyasa who was given the charge of Rig Veda. And that's how the Rig Veda was written form. Before they were in herd, like a Shruti, they were passed on in Shruti. So Paila Rishi is if somebody was asking me, is the author. And
Okay.
Vaishampayan is the author of Jur, Jaimini is the author of Atharva, and Samveda, the author is Sumantu. So these are the different authors. So
Thank
anyway,
you.
go ahead, please. Yes, and then
So
also in the Paila Rishi one, we'll cover that later on. These are the questions you had asked me, so I'm just giving the answer. And since Rupaji is there, she can always validate it. So, so thank you, Rupaji. Continue, please.
yeah. So last time there was an errata. There was an error by me because in making of the figure, I understood while presentation that there is a mistake by me. So I just want to cover for 2 minutes and then we will proceed. So last time, what we saw was the Ardra's time, and with the slip of tongue, and because of the just opposite kind of a um, figure was given by me, so that became an error over there. So apoapsis at spring equinox was happening during the Ardra time, and apoapsis means away, and the time taken you can see is slow. That is r theta is slow here. So the peak of Vasant was experienced slowness. So the Kali means slowness. That from Charaivati verse we already got, and this is the concept of apsidal precision. So this should also be known, like with the help of precision of equinoxes, like with the help of apsidal precision, we can come to a conclusion that this phenomena was also known to Indians. So this is a Kepler's law, which is known as Kali, Treta, Dwapar, Treta, and Krita. So one has to understand that our seers, sages were observing that why spring suddenly is becoming slow, why the time is not going away. Like spring is very longer, it was appearing very longer to them. Similar way, I and Nilesh already gave this talk on this Surya Siddhanta in Oxford coffee table conference. So there we explained that this is present in Surya Siddhanta also. So from the Surya Siddhantic time, this phenomena was known, and that was the Kritanta time. So it was just opposite of Kali that was happening at that time. So during that time, Grishma was along periapsis and apoapsis was at Hemanta. So that is why Lakshman says that the winters are so long and it's not ending. So these kind of apoapsis and periapsis and apsidal precession was recorded by the epics also, Surya Siddhanta also, and Ardra's time definitely was experiencing Kali. Kali means slow. And slow what? The Samvatsar has to begin from somewhere. So it used to begin from Vasanta. So there is still a debate that whether it was Uttarayan or whether it was Vasanta spring, Vedic Uttarayan. Yeah, Vedic Uttar Udagayana. So the debate will always continue, and I'm keeping all the facts over here. And very interesting thing is that after Adra, it comes Mrigashesha Nakshatra. So vernal equinox always precedes, that is going backward. So Mrigashish Nakshatra is also known as Agrahayani. So very interesting name to understand because Agrahayana means Samvatsar's beginning. So if Agrahayana, that is the year beginning, is given a name to Mrigashish, something very unique was happening during 5000 to 4000 BCE. Even the biblical records or the other records of Mesopotamia and any other culture around the world, everyone is stuck up with the thing that the cosmos began during 4000 BC, 4000 or 5000 BC. In that range only they remember. So this is an ethnographic memory. So we cannot just ignore that in the name of kind of a myth, but it is there in the kind of a myth. It is there. The information is there that the 26,000 years cycle again began from that point. And I already told you that Mrigashirsha is a very interesting nakshatra with the three belt stars. It is very distinctly visualized by our naked eyes, and not only by us Indians, but all over the world. Uh, you can take Egyptians, Sumerians, you can take Chinese, you can take Japanese, anyone on this earth is can relate. Maoris, anyone on this earth, you can relate. They can relate with Orion belt stars. So anything is happening, they can always go to that star and they can visualize this night sky and they can navigate and move. So that became a part of the civilization. That star constellation became a part of that civilization, and that came down to us. So, in many forms of myths from all over the world. So, this was a small errata. I just got confused, and during the presentation, I realized that I made a wrong image. It was just opposite of this one. So, the slower along apoapsis, that is peak of Vasant, was experiencing slowness, and that is known as Kali. So in some other part, I will discuss how Aryabhatiya is related to this one, and then we can conclude about this. So this way we remember like a unique information of apsidal precision is there with the Mrigashesha Nakshatra. So the precision of equinoxes Agrahayani, that the 26,000 years begin from there. That is a kind of a bigger Samvatsar, you can say. 26,000 years Samvatsar. So that begins from here, there, and that is why it is known as Agrahayani. The word has given to that nakshatra from where everything has to begin. And Kali is number one. You know that. Kali 1, Dwapar 2, Treta 3, and Krita 4 or 10. And why 4 or 10? That also we will discuss at some point of time later. So today we are beginning with the part 3. I hope the last slide was very clear this
That was
time to
very
you.
good, very
Yeah.
good, Rupaji, because I think that This just shows that we are continuously improving on ourselves.
Ji, definitely. I'm also improving.
We
So
don't have to
today's
compete. This is a big, we always look at others, but not look at ourselves. Ideally, the
Ji,
competition should be with ourselves more than
ji,
others.
yeah. And we are human, we can do errors,
Just like a
and sometimes
sportsman, just like a sportsman. Like a sportsman doesn't focus on others' game, it will cause depression. He just focuses on his game or her game,
ji,
and that's how they improve themselves. Like that's the quality of an athlete. So even in these areas also, people always fight that I'm better than you, instead of they should say, how can I correct ourselves more? There is no, because
exactly.
the documentation is not coming from us, it's coming from Vyasdev.
Ji,
So if you have a major problem, I may be wrong, but correct him, or ask him, or go to his original text.
ji,
But don't go to
exactly.
a Western scholar because he's as confused as you are. So don't.
Agree. But something very interesting about the Western scholars are they dig like anything. They go into any word or anything, any epics or any. They go very deep, and they dig out.
But they need
And
to. One thing I've seen many of them, and many of them are very good. But they need to still consult the
exactly,
people who
that is the
speak that
point.
language, Sanskrit,
Yeah, yeah,
because they
that is
don't
the
have
point.
mastery on that.
Exactly. And not only mastery, they don't have that background to understand.
Correct.
We learn things from childhood. Even we if we do not read Vedas, even if we do not, that culture and tradition and carrying of that in your DNA is a
It's in the
very
blood. Yeah.
high. It's in the blood. So we cannot forget things like
Correct.
just in a in this fashion. It is there. Only we need to read them again. Uh, and they will come up, of course.
And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said a very wonderful thing, that Bharata Bhumita Hoila Janhajar, Jivan Sarthak Kari Kar Parupkar. It is the duty of the Bharatiya people to do charity on others, Parupkar. But before that, Jivan Sarthak Kari, you need to first understand your own scriptures also.
Exactly.
And so, I mean, the wealth is part of the DNA of Bharatiya people who are born in that
Exactly.
land. But
Exactly.
it's time for them to rise and start explaining these things, just like you are doing.
Gee, I also agree with you exactly the same way what you are saying. We need to मतलब हम लोग को पढ़ना जरूरी हो गया है. We cannot rely on their subjective and objective things. we
Absolutely.
need to we need to get into our subjective and objective things, and we need to bring them up in objective way. So
Exactly.
हाँ वो नहीं होगा तो we will be feeded. Now
Yeah,
what is happening is we are being feeded with our own things, no, by them. So
that's
that should
exactly
not happen.
Master Macaulay did. He translated our literatures, learning our language, and just in between, he inserted their own mental ideas, and
Ideas.
that's how you create mythology. It was
Exactly.
originally a saptology, but now you created a mythology because you have created assumptions. And
Hmm.
ASSUME. If you look at the first three letters, ASS and U and B, that's what they did. So we have to stop those insertions out. Read
Exactly.
Vyasdev pure, and if you don't
Exactly.
know Sanskrit, you can talk to Rupa Bhati ji or Nilesh. Okay, so many pundits out there. Please read them, and then they, for the viewers, I'm saying you don't have to believe them. You have to verify them, and that's how
Exactly.
you begin your scientific journey. And Rupa Bhatti
Everyone
is a
has
great
to
guy.
go through their own scientific journey because the scriptures are same to all in oral tradition, or now that we are studying now, that is all same to everyone. So it I will be deciphering it in a different way, other one will be deciphering in a different way, but please don't go into the thing that the westerners have given us. I
Right.
will give you one example of Godhuma. We
Mhm.
were discussing on Twitter some day ago, and Subhash Kakji also wrote about Godhuma, but he copied, I think, from this McDonald version only. So he kept go alag and dhuma alag. So if you do a samasa godhuma, it will come out like the smoke of the earth. But very interestingly, that word doesn't mean that. It comes
Exactly.
from
Doesn't
the
mean that.
verb root gudh.
Good
Gudh. So that means that has some kind of a cover.
cover.
And when you open that cover and the seed comes out, that becomes a wheat.
Mhm.
So that is why the name was given Godhuma.
Good. Right.
Gudh and Uma. Uma means cover.
Cover.
So one Krishna ji is there who explained Subhash Kak ji that no, it means this, not McDonald version, but from the Indian version, it means Gudh plus Uma
Mm.
gives Godhuma. And very interesting thing is that Narangi, the orange, is also known as Godhuma.
Correct.
So
Because
orange, which can be peeled
peeled.
out. So
Correct.
from Gud and Uma, there has a cover.
Correct.
So mostly other I can say आप केले को ले लें, that can also be called Godhuma because it
Good.
has a cover.
Correct.
You know, so it is so interesting to understand. And then good, that means they
It is not
inside that.
agarbatti. They are
Huh,
saying.
yes. So from good word it is coming. So you can see in the wheat you can see a small line in between, no?
Right.
That divides into two portion. So in similar way you will see the narangi ka jab aap peel out karenge. So you see the lines.
Right.
So our sages were so interestingly naming these other things also. In that fashion, one has to reproach your own this mm, scripture. Now, for me, why this word became very interesting was that this word is absent in Rig Veda. And wheat was a culture which came very later to India. That came around 8,000, 9,000 BC. So you don't find Godhuma in Ramayana also. So one has to understand where to place these things. No? Rigveda doesn't know Godhuma. That means Rigveda doesn't belong to at least 8,000, 9,000 years से तो वो था ही नहीं. उसके पहले ही लिख दिया गया था. So one has to understand all these. Like tiger was not present in India when it came into India. And why that is not present in Rigveda. So these are few things that I'm working on. We will come up later on those topics also.
Yes. Please continue.
So yeah. So today's is Nataraja's connection with Agastya, and we remember Agastya as a drinking ocean. That myth is there in, I will again call myth here. I will start with myth and then I will conclude that it is a sat, not a myth. So myth is that he drank ocean. Now nobody understand why a rishi can drink an ocean, such a huge ocean. Nobody can drink. A human person cannot drink it, but still it is a since it is incomprehensible, so let us take it as a myth to begin with. Then we will come to the sat, what the sat is exactly. So the dance of Nataraja and measure of time via nakshatri, precision of equinoxes, and Agastya's actual precision, and Kepler's law. So we understood the Dvividha Kala Jnana in the past two episodes. So today we will try to understand what is the connection between Agastya and Nataraja. So we already saw this image in my many of the previous talks, in your talks also, in Satology also, that this is the three-belt star Orion, and this whole constellation is called Orion. You can see a Lepus constellation here, and we also saw the Canis Major, that is the Swan, Procyon, and Sirius, the two dog stars. The Gemini constellation Auriga is there, which I have comprehended as Agrahayana also. Um, Here you can see the Taurus and Pleiades also. In the downside, you can see Canopus, and you can see what I've written here, visibility till 50° north. So this is happening in today's time. That means that cities on 50° north can see these stars only till here. That is this horizon. They can see the Canis Major, but they cannot visualize Canopus. So Canopus has a restriction. It can only be seen till 30 to 32 degree north, not beyond that, in today's time also. And exactly opposite of this time, what was happening during 12,000 KBCE? It was visible till 10 degree north. That is the Chidambaram latitude, almost on the Chidambaram, Tiruvananthapuram latitude. And uh, 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 sorry, this has to be, I will just correct it here only, 30 degree north. So you can see the Sirius and this Procyon and Sirius and Lepus constellation, everything is visible till 30 degree north during 12 kbc. So you have to understand what is happening. So 20 degree ka difference aa jata hai in 13,000 years. So it is wobbling, like the whole globe has come up, so the stars below are also visible up, and that wobbles down, the stars are not visible. Now, the Canopus is visible in today's time till Kurukshetra and above Kurukshetra also till Kathua, that is 32 degree north. And you can see that 30 degree line here, and just above Canopus, 2 degrees above is Canopus. So visibility is still 32 degree north. Now, the same thing that was happening during 12 KBC, it was only visible till Tiruvananthapuram, and Chidambaram was not able to see the Agastya star during Ramayana times. So we also got that Mahendragiri Parvat, and my first two talks with you was all about the Agastya and Mahendragiri. So this is the condition. Agastya is seen till 30 degree north in today's time, and just 20 degrees below during 12K BC, it was seen only till Mahendragiri Parvat. Then I showed you how Nataraja was can be superimposed on the Orion Nakshatra. So this is the Mrigashirsha Nakshatra and Ardra Nakshatra, Betelgeuse. This is the Mrigvyad, and you can see the whole constellation here and very easily superimposed. And you can see the Apasmara. Now, this Apasmara is very interesting. What I showed you in the visibility part, like till 50 degree north, Apasmara is now visible. But during 12,000 BC, only till 30 degree north it was visible. So it is keeping some kind of an information. So Apasmara is what kind of information it is keeping? So this is keeping about the Canopus. This is keeping about the non-visibility of Canopus in the form of epilepsy. So epilepsy means that short memory, which is अगर किसी को fits आते हैं, so they don't remember certain point of time उनके साथ क्या हुआ, what happened with them. So that kind of a memory is being kept by the Lepus constellation, and below Lepus constellation, it is always the Canopus is there. But from certain latitudes, that is from the above latitudes, during 10,000 or 12,000 or 14,000 BC, it was not visible. So this is the information the Nataraja's Lepus is keeping with it. How it comes into picture, why this iconography is keeping such an epileptical name, so that becomes a very important thing to understand. Why name Apasmara? An asura is named Apasmara, which has been trodden down by Shiva's nakshatra. Now, this is the astronomical epilepsy. This is what I have conduced from the whole iconography. Why these iconographies are so important in Chidambaram and Madurai, these latitudes, and why this is present in the southern peninsula. Why these iconography became so important. So this is the Apasmara, uh, which is keeping the astronomical epilepsy of Agastya. This iconography is keeping the information about Agastya's presence, which is not being seen, but with the help of Lepus and Orion, one can always track down and is keeping this astronomical epileptical information about Agastya. So for 4,000 years, Chidambaram is not able to see Agastya. So this is the astronomical epilepsy on that latitude. Once it comes up, it hops up. The Udak Mandalam in the southwest side and Chidambaram in the northwest side. These two make a same horizon, same latitude, where now August is seen. So that becomes the name Udak Mandalam. Why? The star now hops up from that latitude, and from Chidambaram latitude, it is bringing a bliss, because now again the opposite portion of the actual precession begins. Now, the whole latitude from 32° north till Chidambaram latitude, the Agastya wobbles. It goes up and it comes down. On every 2000 years, it will make a shift from one latitude to other latitude. Every moment it is moving, but the significantly it will be visible within 2000 years. So 100 kilometer will be higher, and from there also now you can visualize Agastya. By 5600 BC, you were visualizing Agastya from Prabhas Spartan, and likewise it is going up. So this is all about due to the wobbling of the earth with respect to the celestial globe. So that is why the whole celestial globe is there as it is. But due to the precession of equinoxes, the position of earth is now changing in that fashion, which makes the right ascension and declination of the star changed. So every 2000 years there will be a very significant change, and likewise our sages were noting it and they were measuring it from where it is visualized. So in Mahabharata there is a verse where it shows that the kings came out, and they were a search party bani. They made a search for Agastya from where it is now visualized. So that was facilitating them for navigations also, and that is why it became so important star campus in Indian context. Now, how this was shown, I think if you remember in the first of the talk, I have shown that how the Augusta visibility comes down and it goes up. So I will quickly take up this one. So during 19,000 BC, it was crossing Vindhya and it was going down south. So the upper portion of the Vindhya was not able to visualize Agast. Now, these portion was only visualizing the Orion and the Apasmara, Lepus constellation. So now, for these regions, the Apasmara is playing the epileptic astronomical information. It is keeping the epileptic astronomical information for a while, because for few thousand years now, August will not be visible for almost a cycle of precession. Once it comes back to the top, uh, August will not be visible from here. So we also saw that when it went down to Chidambaram, now the whole India is not able to visualize above Chidambaram, but below Chidambaram, Agastya was always visible. And since it was visible, so I also showed you in the first talk that how the Agastya Malai range, the whole range is known as, is given to Agastya. So the name is geographical name also carries this information that Agastya was always visible from below Chidambaram, but above Chidambaram, it was not visible for 4,000 years. Again it wobbles down upside, so it takes Udak Mandalam and Chidambaram. So Chidambaram got this unique iconography, and it appears to me that initially that was a wooden structure which which got into Badami and other caves where we find a different postures of Nataraja in a very early form. And later on it came to the copper and metals also. The iconography was then very easily reached by different region of India. So we saw that this area becomes very prominent with the iconography of Nataraja. And we can understand why Agast is mentioned in as a first proponent of Sangam literature. So Sangam period also begins with Agastya, they say, and there is a quite a debate that no, there was no Agastya Rishi, and something is very much missing in the Sangam literature. But it is astronomical Agastya, so there has to be a connection with the time, and time comes very accurate as the Tamils remember it. For 9500 BC, their first Sangam period began, and it happened for 4000 some years. So they remember this thing, and this corroborates also. So my finding that when Agastya was visible from above Chidambaram comes out to be 9500 BC. Later, we saw that how it was hopping up, and we also saw that it came towards Dwarka during 5600 BC. So this is how the whole things are concluded. So majorly here, the talk is all about Apasmara and Agastya. So from this iconography, we understand that it is keeping some kind of an information. So the information is all about the drinking of ocean. Agastya drank the ocean. So why this knowledge of Agastya drinking ocean can be associated with Nataraja? So the question arises, what kind of a connection? So if you remember, I've told that the Nataraja iconographies in Chidambaram and Madurai both are facing south. So when they face south and they are completely in a bliss situation, so it is trotting the Apasmara now, but pointing its one of its leg towards the Sirius, and the Sirius star is pointing one of its leg to Canopus, or the Gajahasta Mudra and Abhaya Mudra. So Abhaya Mudra is pointing towards the Vega, that is Abhijit Nakshatra, and the Gajahasta Mudra is pointing towards Canopus. So the movement this iconography comes, it shows something like Uttanapada. So this iconography is again repeated in different forms and different myths, and many of these stories carry the astronomical knowledge also. So the whole iconography, with the help of Lepus, it's pointing towards Canopus. It's pointing towards the star Vela. It's pointing towards Sirius. And suddenly you will realize that the Ilvalasur Agastya story, the drinking of ocean, is something related to the axial precession. When the Agastya is in southernmost tip, as seen from there, that means that Agastya is not visible. But as Agastya is coming towards the upper portion, that is during 26,000 BC when it was on Kurukshetra latitude, it is showing that it has drank the whole of the ocean. So something is related to that time. So if you remember that we had a session with Brihadratha. So when the whole of the stars are visible from the northern portion of the India, that means that many stars beneath August has also come up. So many of the stars are now seen from the southern hemisphere, which was below Agastya. So that means the drinking of ocean has to belong from 26,000 year to 28,000 years. At that point of time, it was happening 28 to 29,000 years, because for 4,000 years the Agast will be visible from Kurukshetra. So now one has to understand that why this drinking of ocean story got attached with Agastya. So what was happening with Agastya there? So actually, it was nothing but we understood from Brihadratha story that during the last glacial maximum, I had shown that graph. For many thousand years, the ocean level was 120-meter down, and it was happening during 26,000 BCE also, when Agastya was at the topmost portion of India, which was visible from topmost portion of India, just like today's time, 26,000 years back. So, in my opinion, it appears to me that the Agastya drinking lore and the precision of equinoxes and the actual precision, everything got merged in this myth. So the physical condition also, the geographical condition also got merged in this information. So it appears to me that during 26,000 BCE, when during the last glacial maximum, when the sea level was 120-meter down, the same thing was got applied with the actual precision also. So during that time, already many of the stars are now visible. So if you remember, one more lore is there that Shiva says that, "Oh, Agastya, please go south," because during the marriage of Shiva and Parvati, the whole imbalance was there. So all the asuras have come to northern hemisphere. So this is nothing but all the southern hemispherical stars were also visible from the northern hemisphere. Many of them, many of the stars, due to the 20-degree shift. As I showed you that 50-degree north से कैसे दिखाई देता है, then 30-degree north से कैसे दिखाई देता है during 12,000 BC. So this is something, many of the informations got clubbed or braided, interwoven into one singular event, and that is how we get this Agastya drinking ocean information. But how the dance of Shiva and Agastya are related, so that we will see that how these are related. So if you see from Kurukshetra, I'm taking. So if you see this, the Orion position in today's time is in a very high right ascension and declination. Due to the high right ascension and declination, it is visible in this way in Kurukshetra. As you see during 2500 BC, you will see that it has come down. And as you see, as you go back in time, from Kurukshetra only now, these Orion star and the whole Nataraja will be visible in more towards horizon. And in during 12,000 BC, it was almost on horizon. Like from Kurukshetra, people will be looking at these three star belts, and they will be visualizing, oh, this looking so near the horizon, and Agastya will not be visible. So Agastya has already gone down from 2,500 BC. Agastya has already come down from this horizon. It is not visible, and by the time 12,000 BCE, the whole Orion has come down and very much visible from the horizon only in Kurukshetra. So this is the dance of Shiva, it appears to me. This is how the Lepus constellation is keeping, the Apasmara is keeping that astronomical epilepsy. But the people have not forgotten it. They have contained this information in the form of iconography. So southern people always remember that Agastya is always there, but below horizon, and at some point of time it will come up again. And that is why when it came up, so Udag Mandalam name of Uti also came up, and likewise Chidambaram got the bliss on that horizon, and again Agastya was seen. So that is why Agastya is also known as Shiva. Uh, in many of the Puranas, Agastya is known as Shiva also. So he is the main proponent of Shaivism, and that has been very beautifully captured in Nataraja iconography, I would say. And this is how today I conclude about what is the connection between Nataraja and Agastya. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I think you mentioned Kurukshetra. And ever since you told me about the Shiva in the sky and the Hunter Orion constellation, I've been looking at Orion in a totally different way. And I was telling my kids also, see, the Shiva is in the sky.
Ji, ji.
So thank you
Definitely.
for this information. It's a great information. Your slides are finished now.
Yeah, finished.
One of the things which really comes to my mind is, and I think many of the viewers also will have the same question about the interpretations. And I know that if you, and I'll just give you a little bit hint to the global audience, that if you try to interpret any of the Abrahamic literatures, then it's considered heresy. But the Vedic scriptures which you have, they're so open-minded, it is left up to you. That's called freedom. Not, it's not called that they're not, they are also very direct. So when they say, and they are too direct, more direct than other people, but there is a element of freedom given to you to, so that you can interpret in your way. It's just to develop your understanding, but that doesn't mean they contradict, the scriptures contradict. Like I just give you an example. Somebody may, you have heard it many times, somebody may look at elephant from the front and say it's just a head, big head.
जी.
And somebody may look at from behind and just say it's just a tail with two
हम्म,
pillars. But it is, if somebody knows the truth, and that's the point there, that you may not find one information, you may not understand it, but that doesn't mean that Vedic scriptures are contradictory or incomplete. Am I right, Rupaji?
जी बिल्कुल.
Just because, yeah, we have not read it doesn't mean that it is incomplete.
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
So thank you, Rupaji, because you have to take her leadership there, that how she researches and then comes back and superimposes on the modern visive, what we see, Pratyaksha Praman. So, but she's also using a lot of Anuman Praman, Shabda Praman together. Am I right, Rupaji?
जी बिल्कुल.
Your research starts from Shabda Praman, and then you do Anuman Praman, then you superimpose, and then in the presentation slides, it look like Pratyaksha Praman.
जी. जी.
So it's a
So nice.
really, yeah. You want to add something?
Nothing. Every name now, when I'm studying Nyay under Sri V.N. Jha sir, Professor V.N. Jha. So now I'm trying to connect with uh, the names, the names given in our epics, like supposingly Ilvalasur or Agastya. So these are not given just in a random way. It's not random. So it has a characteristic, it has a property, and not that it has a property for the time being. Like if you say Agastya, so Nagachati ti Agaha, that means, oh, it was a name of a pole star. Then what about the other times when he was known as Agastya? So now the other root comes in stay. Stay means Shabda Sanghate.
Right.
So that means that something is coiling like Shabda, and something which can be seen in various latitudes, like pressing down. So the whole name has a character that has a Sanskrit etymology, and which has the whole history in it. That was lost in Amar Kosha. Like when I read the new versions of Amar Kosha that came to me in hard copy, there I saw that the writer's deliberate attempt was to show that Dhruv Padi, only that much is known as Dhruva, that is the pole point or pole star. Sat Agastya Kumbh Sambhava, then the next line was Matra Varunasyev Lopamudra Sahadharmani. So the whole shlok is about Agastya, Kumbha Sambhava, Lopamudra, Mitra, Varuna, all were once a pole star.
That's right.
But the writer
Samudbhava.
deliberate,
The last word
yeah,
Samudbhava is the one which says everything was like that. Yeah.
everything was there. And the writer deliberately wrote that only pole star is Dhruva and Ottanpadi, rest of them are stars. So this is how many of the Sanskrit scholars, those who again write the book, like Amar Kosh is again written by some other writer, and I got that Hindi and Sanskrit to Hindi Amar Kosha. So to see all these words like Ram or Lakshmana, everything has its own meaning and meaning of that time. And Ravana, which comes from Rava. So Vishrava also come from the same root, his father's name. So the names bear a lot. The names bear a lot. Like Dasharatha. Dasharatha's name is Nemi. So it also means the Aksha. Nemi means that actual ka part and Nemi. So it becomes very important to understand what these scriptures are trying to say us. They're trying to convey us something, and we are not able to like decipher. But I would say that astronomy is very much braided into every epic and even Rig Veda.
Every aspect
So
also.
every aspect of astronomy was always there. So that is why when we began, I said, and you asked a very valid question. One has to know precision of equinoxes, axial precision, apsidal precision for Kali, Treta, and Dwapar Krita, and obliquity. The obliquity also is very important to understand, and that is also recorded in our many of the astronomy text as well as other texts also.
For a common man, I think when you look at the Western name, like a Western name, they don't get into etymology of everything. Like there is no need. Like if somebody says my name is say a Western name, some XYZ, you don't have to do X plus Y plus Z. You'll just call him XYZ. Now, same with the Vedic, these are all personalities also. Agastya. They have meaning because Sanskrit is a very sophisticated language, so everything has a meaning also, but at the same time it is a name also, it is a person too. So ignoring the person and accepting the name and then breaking into it, your mind can go wild. It's called mental speculation. And I think the entire thing has been explained very well. One of the interviews of me and on yoga with Nilesh, you can see that how he has broken into four aspects, and then he has put it out where he very categorically states
Exactly.
the proof. That's why I say, अगर सामने राम खड़ा हुआ है तो you are not going to say Ram and that means it is, no, you're just going to call him Ram. He's a person. And Shatrughna doesn't mean that, yes, he means he's an enemy, slayer of the enemies, but also he's a person. So just to dissect the name to take out the inner meaning and reject the personality gives rise to mythology also, because
Exactly.
then you start getting into some different aspect altogether, and then you come to a point that doesn't exist, that person never existed, but actually it means this, the symbolical value comes into play,
Hmm.
and which again is very dangerous. That is, if you say Krishna never existed and that's Krishna means this, that just like Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan wrote. And I,
Hmm.
oh my gosh, the unborn within Krishna. I said, who was that you're talking? I'll say the unborn within Radha Krishna Pillai, whatever his name is, the ex-president of India, which is very bad way of looking at things. But anyway, Rupaji, very enlightening. If you want to add something, please add.
Yeah, today only that much. Next time we may take up on myths and how these are looked upon by the Western authors
Yeah.
and how we should look at our myths.
So
So
one thing I'll say through this show, that Indians should start commenting on Western authors and give them
exactly, yeah.
decertify them that you are not authorized. Just because you were colonizing us and you thought that we are uneducated, but now we realized that we are far more intelligent and educated. So stop commenting on us. That Indians only can do it.
Exactly, exactly. And I would say that we have tremendous scholars here, whom I met in on Twitter also, and but still there is a kind of a hesitance, not in a very proper way. The whole idea of rebuttal comes, it comes in a just a thrashing way for a while.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
not good enough.
she did this, she wrote this, and even I sometimes like quote, but it is not good. Rebuttals should be on paper, research paper basis only. Thrashing away just on social media, and that doesn't make much sense. That is not going to be recorded on historical frame. So one has to do those rebuttals via research papers, I would say.
Please write on sathology.org, and that's where you can do more on rebuttals on this area, especially with the Wikipedia misfacts. So thank you all very much for watching, and
Thank
very
you.
grateful to you. And thank you, Rupaji. As usual, it's a pleasure.
Thank
And
you so much.
namaskar.
Thank you so much, Papa. Okay.